Hello and welcome to the Superfreakmedia podcast, No Ghouls Allowed, with me, your host, Jonno Butler. This month I am joined by none other than Liam Banks.
Hello.
Sarah Thomas.
Hello, hello.
And Richard Parker.
Hey folks.
Who has come back because this month we are going to be talking about films that Richard has actually seen.
I was feeling like we could have said a comeback from the dead pun there because of the topic, but yeah, we'll go with it.
Damn it.
Missed opportunity, Jonno.
It's too late. It's too late. I just wanted to slam Richard. I didn't think about the actual pun opportunity. But this month we are going to be talking all things shambling undead. We're going to be talking about zombies. Partly because of the release of Zack Snyder's new Netflix film, Army of the Dead. And partly because zombies are flipping cool. So we are going to be talking Army of the Dead and also bring in some of our favourite zombie movies to the table. Now, I know everyone on this episode of the podcast has seen Army of the Dead, Zack Snyder's latest. Just by a quick yay or nay, can I just get, did you enjoy it? So one word answer from everyone. Liam.
Yay.
Okay. Sarah.
Yay.
Richard.
Yay.
I think Richard was definitely the most enthusiastic yayer of everyone. I think Liam was probably the least.
Yeah.
I felt like you wanted to say more words, and I've heard that you've bought notes.
If you don't know me better now, Jonno, you always know I want to say more words. I think like unconcise is my middle name.
Liam Unconcise Banks, which
we'll take that.
May or may not be a word.
Inconcise.
I feel like it's inconcise.
Yeah. Inconcise.
Yeah. Also, cannot speak English as well. So
no,
that's the surname.
Right there you go.
Liam Unconcise cannot speak English.
Banks. Double-barreled. Yeah. So I'm going to give you my thoughts about it first, and I can get mine out of the way, and then we can pass it onto you guys, because I feel like you'll have more interesting things to say than me. Well, first of all, I was excited about it because I'm a fan of a lot of Zack Snyder's work. So it was something I was definitely looking forward to seeing. I was slightly less looking forward to seeing it when I heard it was 2.5 hours long for a zombie film, which I sort of thought, for that kind of escapist popcorn entertainment, maybe that's going to grate a little bit. How much of that is going to be slow motion?
28 minutes.
Yeah. But no, I was pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed the film more than I thought I would. I didn't think it grated. I thought it was paced pretty well. I don't think its 2.5 hours was particularly overlong, although I think we probably could have lost a few scenes here and there. I thought particularly the gore effects and the practical effects were spot on. Some of the stringy stuff in particular I loved. Some of the set pieces were absolutely class. Although on the flip side, I do sort of think that it was Zack Snyder to the extreme, which I think has been a little bit of a problem with some of these Netflix-backed films, where they give a director free rein. Like the Michael Bay Six Underground was so Michael Bay it hurt. It was too much. And I think this maybe just stayed on the right side. It was indulgent, but not to the point of overindulgence. So yeah, on the plus side, as I said, gore effects, practical effects. I thought the cast was pretty decent. I enjoyed Dave Bautista particularly. So I would definitely give it a thumbs up and say definitely go and watch it. Although it's definitely not the best zombie film out there. And stressfully, it's not the best Zack Snyder zombie film out there, because I do think Dawn of the Dead was a better film. But if you've got Netflix, you could definitely spend 2.5 hours much worse.
Yeah.
It's well spent. It's a well spent 2.5 hours, I'd say.
You seem really into it, Rich. I mean, I know that when we've previously spoken about stuff, I think you're like zombie films is a part of horror that you really enjoy, isn't it? So you must have been like, pardon the French, creaming your drawers when you found out about this film. So.
Ooh.
I had a whale of a time. I really did. I really
wonder what
enjoyed
you
it.
were going to say then.
Yeah, no, that
Three
would
of
be
them.
weird.
Well, you
No,
had the time, let's be honest.
Yeah, true. I think, similar to Jonno, I thought it was pretty decent. The pacing was pretty good as far as I was concerned. I'd seen a lot of stuff online with people saying that the pacing was all out and they didn't like it for that sort of reason. But for me, it knew exactly what it was, and it kind of played to that. It took the piss in the ways it needed to take the piss. Like, one of my favorite moments comes in literally the opening when you see the zombie outbreak starting to happen, and there's the guy who's parachuting down, and you just see him like just with his pistol just gunning him down, and I'm like, okay, this is excellent. Like, he's gonna oh no, he's landing in amongst a bunch of
Massive
them. Like,
horde.
that's like, so you in your brain you're just going, oh, it's fine. He's just like clearing himself a nice little path, and then no, just eviscerated as he comes into land. My only gripe with it was the ending, really. I don't feel like we needed the entire plane scene at the end.
I will say 1 second, Richard, before you carry on. Let's not give too much away, because it is a pretty new release. So if you sort of allude to
I'm
things...
100% spoiling the hell
you're
out
spoiling
of
it. Oh, in that case then, spoiler alert. Do it.
Yeah,
I think we can get away with it, because it was out at the cinema for a week, wasn't it? Before it was... Well, it was in the US. I think it was kind of unique in the way it was released, like COVID release, because it did go out to cinemas for a week, and then everyone's pretty much seen it, I think, now.
Okay.
But yeah. So sorry, back to the ending, where spoiler alert in effect, everyone.
Okay. Yeah. Spoiler alert in effect. I feel like they could have. I loved the Batista ending. Like, I thought that side of things was great. But the ending for Vanderho, I was like, no. I feel like they literally could have ended it with him crawling out of the safe, crawling out of the bunker at the end, and that's where it should have ended. I've heard tell that they're maybe setting up for some sort of sequel, but I also feel like that could have been perfectly fine as an ending to also then set up for a sequel. I get that if they're setting up for the sequel, they want to show, okay, this is where zombies are going to come back into it again, but I don't feel like it was warranted. But overall, fantastic. As Jonno says, the practical effects were great. I didn't think that some of the CG stuff was too bad either. I thought at times the tiger looked pretty decent.
That tiger was legit.
I'll give you the tiger. The tiger was class.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's such a good idea as well. Like, because I don't know, when you think of Las Vegas, like tigers are part of that imagery for me, because people are just ridiculous there. So
when
it makes sense they'd be zombified.
When the tiger was first introduced, I was like, please be one of Siegfried and Roy's. Please be one of Siegfried and Roy's. And then they said it was, and I was like, oh, this is excellent.
Did anyone else watch the behind the scenes stuff that's also on Netflix?
I haven't checked it out. I didn't know that stuff was up, so no, I definitely want to though. I imagine
really
it'll be
interesting.
Quite heavy.
There's a bit that they go into about like creating the tiger and getting all the movements, and you see some of the green screen stuff as to how it all worked. And I can't remember the character's name, but the guy who gets sent in and essentially betrays everyone. He was talking about his first time doing wire work and stuff like that.
I think he was Martin. Yeah, the security guy. Yeah.
So he was. It was really interesting to see the bit where he kind of gets thrown around with literally just a guy in a green morph suit and like him on a load of wires. That was really, really interesting to watch. And they talked about the makeup effects and stuff like that, and the horse was all done with like prosthetics and stuff. So,
I don't think the horse gets enough attention. Cool. Like, I mean, the tiger steals the show, but that horse was pretty freaking sweet.
Yeah, the horse looked amazing.
Like, it was very, very good. I liked it.
It was great. I really, really enjoyed it. I feel like it was kind of almost like a fresh take a little bit. It was a little bit I Am Legend in parts, with them being, being smart and almost setting traps and that kind of thing. But yeah, it felt different. Like they were smart to a new level. Like with the king having I assume it was a piece of bowling ball that he wore as a mask. I'm not entirely sure. But that like plate that he had over his face. I thought
that would be a cool shout if it was like part of a bowling ball. Like I don't know. I just assumed it was like some armor of some sort. But yeah, that'd be ace.
But I felt like it was a great way of just dealing with the oh no, we've headshotted the bad guy, film over kind of scenario. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, as soon as you say destroy the brain, and then you've got the head zombie there, and his brain is on show, you're in trouble, aren't you? So yeah, actually having something like that, and him get repeatedly shot in the face but survive is, it makes sense. So they've actually thought about things, which is good.
Yeah, I got kind of. It sounds really weird because it's like a completely separate genre and a completely separate media. But I was saying to Jonno the other day that I got serious Rainbow Six Vegas vibes with the shootout in the casino with all of the zombies, because it just reminded me of playing that game and just bullets going everywhere and all of the slot machines just ending up ruined. So that was really satisfying from that point of view as well. It was great.
That was a great sequence. I love that bit of the film. I thought that was really good. And stylistically, it worked really well as well. Like, it was motivated, but it was... You could tell Zack Snyder was just all the slow-mo money in the background, please.
Let's just go.
Having a ball.
Full cheese, balls to the wall, let's do it.
Absolutely. It was good.
What about you then, Sarah? Because you were a little bit less enthusiastic than Richard. It felt like that anyway. But more enthusiastic than Liam, we think.
Perfectly middle ground. And that's kind of how I felt about the whole thing anyway. Just kind of the whole, definitely not the worst thing I've ever seen, but certainly not the best. I mean, I think the draw for me, zombie film, zombie media wise, like I'm really into, I guess, the lore of zombies and kind of like how they come to be, how they develop over time. So I guess my favorite part of this film was really understanding, they're not all just fast zombies or slow zombies, if we're just going to categorize them basically, but they all kind of have different levels of intelligence, really, which if they've been around for a while, you would imagine there to be some kind of difference between a fresh one and a not so fresh one. At the beginning of the film, I kind of thought, oh no, we've just got some fast boys like World War Z, which kind of, in my opinion, they're not my favourite kind. And I guess that's just down to personal preference. I find much more fear in these very slow hordes of zombies. Like, that's where shit gets terrifying for me personally. But it was interesting, like, how they had the different classifications, kind of like Last of Us style. I think one of the types is actually called Shamblers as well. But yeah, all in all, enjoyed it. Not my favourite in terms of pacing, and like you say, just how long the actual thing is. And I'll be honest, I had to watch it in like 3 different settings because life. So I struggled with that in particular. I felt like there was a lot of exposition that perhaps didn't needed to be there. Like, it just reminded me a bit of that, that Rick and Morty episode where they're all enlisting each other for like, what's it called, like a heist, or you son of a bitch, I'm in, kind of that kind of vibe. And it just felt like it was a bit long-winded, let's get into the guts sort of vibe for me.
Nice pun.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed it on the whole. All good.
I'm really pleased you brought up the kind of the hierarchy of the zombies, because it was interesting that they sort of really played on that if you got bitten by a certain type of zombie, you would sort of become that type of zombie. So if you got bitten by the king, for whatever you want to call him, you would become one of the more intelligent, fast-moving ones. And then the other thing that I really liked was the ones that had been outside for too long sort of got to the point where they were just completely crusted messes until it rained slightly or got wet, and then they would come back to life.
That was interesting.
And the
Such a
whole
cool thing.
sleeping zombie sequence,
Yeah.
like that part where they first enter, I guess, the area, and there's just that really quite intense scene of where they're almost just sleeping and just waiting to awaken, which was quite spooky to me. So yeah, lots of different variations, which kept it fresh. I think if it didn't have that point of difference, I think I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much.
Yeah.
For sure.
So 2 quite positive reviews so far, 3 if you count mine. I've seen Liam drag over a large book, which I assume is his notes.
Mate, you have no idea.
Do you want to go through bit by bit, or do you want to just kind of like charge in head first?
A lot of stuff's been covered, and I'm not going to be a negative Nelly, because I will like preface this by saying I think overall I did enjoy it. Like Rich said, it was a film that knew what it wanted to be, and I didn't expect it to be anything else. I didn't expect it to be like a game changer, but I think similar to what you said, Jonno, it was the fact I think it was in Snyder's kind of book of work, and Dawn of the Dead I think is far superior as a zombie film. But I don't know. I might start with I'll go through my positives, and then I'll kind of get to my negative kind of bits, and we'll take it from there. So I really liked the premise overall. I thought it was a really fun twist on the conventional like heist movie, because I think for me the closest thing we had to compare this to was something like Ocean's 11 or whatever, like with them robbing a casino and that sort of thing. And it was nice that the threat wasn't them getting arrested or getting caught or tripping a security system. It was literally just getting pulled apart by zombies. I thought it was great, and that's kind of where I really had fun with it. I think the problem did lie in the fact that it took us like over 40 minutes to actually get to the heist itself. And I think that is something that's common with Snyder. I think someone just maybe needs to slap him a couple of times in the editing booth and just be like, mate, get an extra 10 minutes out. We'll there and whatever. I think what I really, really liked, and this was kind of going back to the start of it, was kind of the origins of the zombies. And I mean, there's been obviously a ton of theories and stuff online since the film's come out, but with it being in the Las Vegas setting, there's the obvious kind of nod where it all happens in the desert. Is this like an Area 51 government kind of conspiracy thing going on? And I mean, there's been a lot of talk obviously since that, are the zombies actually aliens? And that's where obviously the intelligence and stuff comes from. And also experimentation and stuff with like time travel, because of course later on in the film, they find the bodies of people who are basically the character archetypes. So is that like them? Have they done this before and failed? And are they just doing it again? So I think if you look at it, you can find some maybe more intelligent things to it if you choose to, or you can just watch it as a zombie heist movie. I really did like the cast as well. I think Dave Bautista is great. I think he was very underused actually in this, because comparing it to how he was in Blade Runner 2049, like he can actually act. Like he's a really good dude, and he is actually we know he's funny from Guardians of the Galaxy as well. And I feel like he was just a bit middle ground in this, but overall, I think you did develop some kind of feeling for each character, which maybe came with the runtime. So that did work to its advantage. Because I never felt like any of the characters were safe, bar one. And I actually did kind of give a shit when something happened to one of them. I think my favourite character, unfortunately wasn't around for too long, was Chambers. So the scene you were talking about, Sarah, with the slumbering zombies, I loved that. Like that scene when she got betrayed with a glow stick and she literally had to fight her way out, I thought was one of the like highlights of the film. I thought it was so good, and I was so with her in that moment, like, come on, you can do this, get out. And yeah, obviously then when what happens, you kind of just left like, oh my God, like you did so well. And I don't know, it's tragic, which is good. I think it's drawing a lot of comparisons to Aliens. And I think I think I maybe liked her so much because she reminded me of Vasquez from Aliens, like the way that she was just kick ass, didn't give a shit. She was just a really great character. We spoke obviously about Martin as well, being the guy that kind of comes in and betrays everyone. I love the fact that he I think you immediately knew just from his jawline he was the bad guy. Like, as soon as I saw him, kind of like when they were recruiting, like you knew he was just going to be a dick. And I'm really glad that he got the ending that he got. So what you said, Rich, about them being the behind the scenes and stuff, I'd love to see that, because I thought that whole sequence was really good. Like, you kind of thought they weren't going to go there, and then, oh yeah, the tiger's just completely eviscerated his face, so that's fine. So I enjoyed that. I thought that was really, really good. I think kind of leading into some of the bits that I had a problem with then, character wise, then I'll segue, was I never felt that, I believe it's Ellen, is it? The Dave Bautista's daughter, sorry. I can't remember her name now. Kate, sorry. I think Ellen's the actress's name. I never thought that she was ever in danger. Like 100%, I knew from the start she was going to make it to the end of the movie. And unfortunately, it was kind of right. And I don't know, I think it would have been ballsy if they had have completely just done something different and got rid of her. I think that could have been really cool. Obviously, her whole subplot was there because of Gita in the kind of concentration campy style place where we introduced to the characters. I thought it was a valid story. It was a valid reason for her being there. But my issue was, I mean, to say the film was so long, there were so many plot holes. Like, I don't actually feel like once the helicopter crashed at the end, we ever saw Gita alive. And I'm kind of like, I'm sure she was going in to save her. And I know they got money for her. But then I'm sure you never actually see her. So I was like, what?
Yeah, you sort of have to assume she's just been eviscerated, don't you, by the crash?
Well, yeah, because obviously the pilot dead. Obviously Batista's
Bullet.
Not great. But yeah, it's just kind of like the whole point of her being there was for this. If she might have not have been there, maybe some other characters would have survived.
I might have a reason why she's not there. I'll go into it in a bit. I'll let you go through your...
Sorry, because I know that this is just me. I don't know. I really wanted to, because this has been the first time in a long, long time that we've had like fresh films to talk about. So I really kind of wanted to go into it with that kind of mindset of like, well, yeah, this is a popcorn film, but is it good? Because I feel like he did wonders with the Snyder cut of Justice League. So I was excited about this. I think we did kind of touch upon it. I think there are obviously going to be some prequels. I know that there's a prequel film set up. I think that's already been made standalone, and an anime series
in Germany, isn't it? Army of Thieves.
Yeah. So I know that there's possibly some bits they've left open, and I know one in particular was the robot zombies. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
No.
No.
Talk to me.
Okay, so it's like a literally blink and you'll miss it, but some of the zombies have blue eyes. So you'll notice when they get shot, they've got like lights. And there's one in particular in the casino like sequence we were talking about earlier with the cash flying. One of them gets their face shot off, and it's just like a metal exoskeleton underneath. And Snyder revealed there were going to be zombie robots in the film way before it was released. But they've kind of confirmed it's going to be something that's going to be clarified in like the alternative media that they're going to be creating. And I didn't know how I felt about that, because I'm kind of like, you're giving me a film that's 2.5 hours. You're throwing all of these wacky things at me. Like, there should maybe be some context, but I guess it kind of links back to the Area 51 idea and all of that sort of jazz. But yeah, it was just kind of leaving things open like that. I think Dieter as well, obviously great character. I assume died off screen. You still got dragged away.
I reckon he's still going.
Do you reckon?
I reckon
that's why they did that.
The prequel focuses on him, doesn't it? Apparently,
yeah.
The prequel focuses on him, and then obviously he's got quite a big role in this one. And then Richard, you mentioned something, didn't you? That was an interview saying that it's that classic horror movie thing of if you don't see them die, don't assume.
Yeah, they're back. They're back for the sequel or whatever.
I'd like to see him back though, because the character is colossal dickhead, which you kind of feel like that's a great thing. Are we still talking about the same guy here?
The safe cracker.
German safecracker.
No, we're not talking about the same guy here. That's never mind. He's not a colossal dickhead. I love that.
I was going to say he's a great guy.
Just because he's German, he is.
No.
Wow.
We're not talking about the same guy here. I got very confused, and I thought we were talking about the guy who plays Juice in Sons of Anarchy.
Yes, the guy who they sacrifice at the start of the when they get in. Yeah,
we do see him die. Yes, never mind. Carry on.
He definitely dies.
Yeah.
It's because he goes for so long when you think that's going to be it. He'll be dead completely. But yeah, he doesn't die till much later on. So I've confused myself. Continue.
Well, it was the same. Obviously, Dieter died off screen, or didn't die off screen, we'll assume. But then also Lily, the coyote, so the woman who takes them in and is like their guide. Thought she was a great character.
Yeah.
I know she gets fully impaled, so she's not doing well. But we just see Zeus kind of snarl in her face, and then it cuts away again. And I don't know. It just felt kind of like we were giving these really punchy moments of absolute death to some of the characters, but then we weren't to others, and I didn't really get it. Sorry, carry on.
No, I think she's going to be his new bride.
Yeah.
I reckon so.
I could see it.
Kind of isn't a thing, is he?
But not anymore. No, but I reckon that was his plan.
Yeah, I mean, there might have been some zombie sex going on. We don't know because there is a baby.
Yeah,
So,
I think what they're doing is they're definitely building up for a whole world, aren't they? Like a universe.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of the taster for it. And as Liam's saying, it would be nice if a few more things were explained. But I guess what they've got to do is drip feed it in to a certain extent.
Absolutely. I mean, I completely agree as well. I think it was Rich, you said the main gripe for you is the ending. I completely agree with that. I don't think it was needed. I think we as an audience expected to see him kind of come out of the safe at the end. But all it reminded me of, and I don't know if you guys like the same or you have a film that you kind of recall, but it just reminded me of the 90s Godzilla film, where you think everything's done and then the camera pans down and then the egg hatches open and you're like, oh God, more Godzilla babies. It was kind of just like, it just reminded me of that. But at the same time, I do think Netflix is in a really incredible position now to be expanding this, like you said, Jonno, into a universe. And I mean, the way that they could do that is literally making these films internationally. So, I mean, we obviously know that the plane that the character's on at the end is going to Mexico, I believe. Mm-hmm. So there's no reason why the sequel couldn't be a Latino-led film.
That's it, definitely. And the prequel's obviously a German-led one.
Exactly. And as this virus spreads through the world, we get these films that are made in each territory, telling it from that cultural perspective and with characters and people. Because I will say, I think the ensemble cast was really organically diverse. Like it was really nice to see so many different types of people and it not feel like forced. Everyone was there because their perspective or whatever brought a skill set with it that then was key to the heist. And I don't know, I think that's when it works well, as opposed to it just being really on the nose, like with the way it can be sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I know Netflix has just committed to spend, I think, over $200 million to produce content in Mexico this year alone. Wow. So they're really looking at Latino audiences. Disney Plus have just is launched in Latin America as well. So it's I don't know, it's a big market, and I think they'd be very stupid to not. I don't know. I don't want to say cash in on that, but use it. They've got an audience there at the end of the day. But I think overall enjoyed it. My mum watched it, which she doesn't like zombie films, and she absolutely loved it. Like she really, really loved it, which I was surprised at. So I do think it appeals to pretty much everyone. But yeah, I think that was the main thing. Other than, I don't know if we were going to talk about it, but I guess you guys have looked into it a little bit. But did you guys notice the character or the person who was replaced?
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk to you about when I said maybe there's a reason for certain things being a little bit off. was that obviously the reshoots that they had to do, or that what they chose to do for the right reasons.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So if people don't know, the character of the pilot was originally due to be played by another actor, who got embroiled in a kind of a sexual abuse scandal, which I won't go into at all. I don't want to give it the time of day. But Zack Snyder and the team decided that that's it. We're going to cut ties with him, and we're going to replace the character with a new actor. So they got in Tig Notaro, who plays the pilot, and then had to digitally remove the other actor from scenes and insert her into them. So they spent millions of dollars on this, and she was never on set with any of the other characters. And
I think bar one, the rooftop sequence where she actually, I think they touch. It's the other lady. That was the only thing they actually could reshoot because of COVID.
Wow.
But everything else, was pretty much green screened and matched in, wasn't it?
But my God, for saying they struggled so much with removing Superman's mustache, they managed to get a whole character out and replace it without me batting an eyelid.
I was going to say, I think that's how you know it was done well. Is we didn't notice. Like Jonno, you didn't know about it until I told you I'd seen an article about it the other day, and I was so surprised to find that out. Nothing really felt off about it at all. To then realise that they have digitally removed somebody from it.
I think what's hilarious is Tig, the actress, obviously, who came in and replaced the role. She's still not met Dave Bautista, which is mental because they are literally next to each other in like scenes. I don't know. It's kind of with music. I think you can get away with it and understand it. You know, like when people collab on a track and they're like, "Yeah, we've never met. We just did it all over Twitter or whatever." But like a film, that is just insane.
The work has gone into that for the lighting to match, the angles to match, and then to comp it all in.
Yeah.
And then get
I'd
the
be
performance.
interested to see how they did it. How do you go about doing something like that? Is all of her stuff pretty much shot on green screen, or if they got to go back and basically marry up the frame to get her in the right place? How would you do that?
I think they did have to pretty much green screen a lot because obviously they got the plates on the day. I think that when I've read about it, the main struggle was the fact that she's a lot shorter than the initial actor who was cast. So eye lines had to be digitally altered. From an acting standpoint, that must have been so difficult for her. So intimidating coming into it. It's pretty much a finished film. And she's got to kind of take on this role, but also she couldn't really do much in terms of she couldn't ad lib any of the lines because they had to match with the script and what other characters had kind of back and forth. Because I didn't notice any of the lines not working. It was nice that the role clearly wasn't really gender specific. And it still worked, which was nice. And I applaud Netflix and obviously everyone involved for actually taking the time to do it because it was done for the right reason.
Yeah. And that's a hell of a lot of work, especially like you say, if they're then having to sort out like eye lines and stuff like that. That sounds like my worst nightmare, trying to sort all that out.
I think the film was initially ready. Was it August last year?
Yeah,
and I'm sure they were going to drop it last year, and then obviously this whole thing happened. COVID happened and was ongoing anyway. So yeah, they did the right thing.
100%. And it's nice that not only did the kind of the cast and crew kind of go, yeah, this is what we want to do, but then also Netflix and the producers, they backed them and they said, yeah, you take the money to go and do it. You take the time to go and do it. Because it was not an insignificant amount.
Well, I did read it was still not as much as the zombie tiger cost.
Really?
So the zombie tiger still cost more money than replacing a whole character in a whole feature film.
But I did read that it cost more to do that than it did to shoot Army of Thieves in its entirety.
That is insane. That is absolutely
which also means that the tiger cost even more than that, which is also insane.
That's crazy. I mean, on the subject of the zombie animals, I know we spoke about the tiger and the horse earlier. I think I shared in our group chat on Facebook a trailer way back when, for the new Asylum film. Now, it doesn't quite coincide. It's not like a mockbuster, but have you seen their latest that's coming out called Aquarium of the Dead?
I'm in.
No, but I'm down.
Incredible.
So it kind of just takes the idea of this zombie tiger and just goes with it with the whole aquarium. And I hear that we've got there's a zombie octopus, which I'm in immediately. You know I am. Zoctopus, yeah.
Good Lord.
There's a zombie walrus, and there are blood-sucking starfish.
Oh, this is great.
I don't know why, but when you mentioned it, my brain went, please be starfish.
Please, we need to set up a watch party for this film, because I just have a feeling it's just going to blow Army of the Dead out of the water. Literally.
Hey,
pun intended.
Yeah,
So-
I'm down for that.
Definitely. Are you guys getting a weird hiss from my microphone, by the way?
Not from
Nope.
not from you, no.
No. Oh. Must just be my end. Oh, I don't think it's a hiss.
Is it interference
No, I think it
from
is.
from another being?
It is, yeah. Oh, he's snuck in. He's snuck in, guys. He's snuck in. He's here. It's Nicolas Cage.
You know, for a minute there, I did not realise what you were doing.
No, I thought it was genuine.
I forgot this was
Christ's
even a
sake.
bit.
Cut the
damn it.
cameras. Start the podcast.
Restart it.
again.
He's got a hiss. It's okay. It's just Nick. It's just your boy.
Oh. How you doing, KG?
He's okay. He's okay. He's just reciting the alphabet in the corner.
Ah,
He's getting steadily more angry.
D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Anyway, so in Cage Corner this month, this is going to be a question that I'm going to put out to the panel. Obviously, it's been in all of the major newspapers around the world, and every news outlet out there is just fawning over the fact that Nicolas Cage will be playing the Tiger King himself in a TV series. But if you could cast Nicolas Cage as one real life person, who would it be?
Oh God.
Because
Okay. Yeah, I've got it.
he's got form for this. He has played people before. But I think it's something that he does particularly well. He's gonna really get into that mindset of anyone that you choose. So it doesn't have to look like Nicolas Cage. It doesn't have to be the same gender as Nicolas Cage. It doesn't even have to be the same species as Nicolas Cage. I reckon he could do anything. As long, but the only rule is that they've got to be a real life being. Liam, you've got one straight away.
I think the immediate one that comes to mind, just because they're real and they are batshit crazy, would be Donald Trump.
I just
feel
there.
like if there was like a biographical film made about him, I could just imagine Nicolas Cage just screaming China.
Just China, nothing else.
Just China.
I reckon
That's
that's
the trailer.
he could do it Eddie Murphy style and play the whole Trump family.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that.
Nicolas Cage as Trump, and I think it would just be called Trump, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
It's Cage
and
is
probably
Trump.
have like a gas cloud coming out of the pee.
Yeah, yeah. I can see that. Just some heavy prosthetics, wig. He's there.
Yeah.
He's there.
Absolutely. I think he'd be a top choice, actually.
There we go.
And I think it's what we deserve.
I will set the petition up immediately.
Change.org.
Yeah.
Cast Nicolas Cage as Trump.
Fund me.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Sarah, have you got anyone or anything that springs to mind?
So you know what? Before Liam even said Trump, I was kind of thinking it's got to be some kind of elaborate politician. And then I thought a little bit closer to home, our very own Bojo. I thought,
Yes.
you know, the eccentricities and the quirks. I just want Nicolas Cage to say, beautiful new blue passport. I just think that would be magic.
Him just
Oh.
telling us to go in and stay in, and then go out and eat out to help out, and then stay in,
Wash your hands,
go out,
go indoors, but don't go
protect the
indoors.
NHS, save the NHS.
Oh, I
I
can
just
see
think
the
it'd be
recreation.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh no, I kind of like the idea though of Nicolas Cage also playing Chris Whitty. Nicolas Cage taking us through the daily slides, I think would be.
Next slide, please. Oh my
Yeah, but you know
God.
it would be.
Yeah.
Next slide.
Next
Just-
slide.
Stood behind his little lectern.
Just
Oh.
kicking shit about. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The entire daily briefing
Just-
with
yeah.
Nicolas Cage, and Nicolas Cage on each podium.
Nicolas
Perfect.
Cage also is Nicholas Sturgeon.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh, this is
Oh.
excellent. We've gone very political so far. Maybe there's a series in this.
I think so.
A little bit like, yes, it'd be Cage doing impressions of various politicians around the world.
I'm sold.
I'm there. I will get on
Netflix.
change.org.
Hit us up.
Yeah. Richard, what have you got for us?
I wasn't going down that flavour, but I'm just going to throw it in there as another extra. I feel like Nicolas Cage is Dominic Cummings because all that bullshit that he spouted about going to Bernard Castle sounds like the kind of shit that Nicolas Cage would come out with. So I feel like that would be ideal.
Okay.
No, I went I was struggling to think of something when you said it, and you were like, "Oh, it doesn't even have to be a real person."
Oh,
Like
no.
it does have to be a real person. It doesn't have to be like a human. And then so my brain instantly went, well, what if he was a kangaroo? He could be Skipper the kangaroo. That'd be funny. And then I realized that's still essentially a character, so that wouldn't work. And I was thinking along the idea of animals, and then I landed on the idea of him playing Steve Irwin. Just because I feel like that excitement from Nicolas Cage
Yeah.
would be incredible.
Oh, yes.
I still feel that's too soon, Rich. That's way too soon.
it's always too soon.
It's been like, what, 20 years?
Yeah.
Genuinely, not even as a piss take. I just feel like the excitement would be absolutely ideal. Like Steve Irwin was always so excited about every animal he came
I love
across.
Steve Irwin. Steve Irwin was like the shit.
He's
He was so
great.
good.
He was an
Absolutely
absolute
great.
legend.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like Nicolas Cage,
I see
I
it.
feel like he could do that excitement justice.
I dig it.
My
could
only
get
thing
on
is, I do think Nicolas Cage would probably prefer to play the Ray.
Oh, you went. I was going to go there, Jonno, and I just didn't. But you just took us there, didn't you?
I just
Jeez,
feel
boy.
like that's the role that Cage would go for. There'd been more depth to it because of
Was
how
that
deep he
another pun?
swims.
like an
Oh.
animated version, like Shark Tale style.
Mm.
I feel like we just lost half of our audience now. Everyone
I-
is a
I-
massive
I-
Steve Irwin.
Everyone's clicked
I
off.
was,
Oh, no.
I was being genuine, and then Jonno dropped that clanger, and now we've just lost a bunch of people.
Yeah, 6 people have gone.
Yeah, our entire viewership is disowned us. All 3
Oh,
people have
no.
unsubscribed.
Oh god.
Oh dear.
But no, I think they're all great shouts. I'm slightly disappointed nobody said John Travolta because that's the obvious answer.
Well, I feel like that could be your choice, Jonno.
It's John Travolta.
Is it John Travolta as John Travolta was starring in Face Off? So
Yeah.
it's kind of like double Inception.
Yeah, so basically he would go back and he would refilm Face Off, only he would then be much like
Both
Army of the
characters.
Dead superimposed back into Face Off, but as John Travolta, as Nicolas Cage with his Face Off.
I feel like him as Tom Cruise doing the I Love Katie thing. Would
Yeah,
be,
he could do that.
Yeah,
would be
Iconic
great,
moments
actually.
from the internet with Nicolas Cage.
yeah.
He could be the guy who says, okay.
Okay.
Could be him.
I also think, strangely not, Tommy Wiseau might be an interesting shout.
I
as
was
well.
just thinking that.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'd do a
I
good
mean, I
Tommy
haven't-
Wiseau.
I haven't seen James Franco's turn. Yeah,
Have you
I mean,
not?
I don't know. Is he good?
He's,
Mate,
he is
Bob
good.
on.
But
yeah,
I do
it's pretty
think
scary, actually.
I do think James Franco is a budget Nicolas Cage.
He's another controversial one right now, isn't he? With
He is.
everything.
And
But-
James Franco starred in Nicolas Cage's only film he directed.
Nicolas Cage is directed.
Yeah, he directed James Franco, yeah, in a film. So there you go.
Do we know the film?
I will Google really quickly. But yeah,
I feel like this is something you should definitely have known off the top of your head, Jonno. So the disappointment is a bit real. I'm not going to
very
lie.
disappointing. Yeah, it's sad that I don't know this. I will find it in a minute and I will come back to you at another point in the podcast. Just randomly, I'll tell you the name of the film and then just leave.
We're just in a really sincere moment, and then you just shout the title.
Zero context, title out of nowhere. Everyone goes, "Oh yeah,
oh yeah."
Yeah. So the next section of the podcast then is back to zombies. So we've gone away from Nicolas Cage now, and we are going to be talking about our favourite zombie films. So the zombie films that... Oh, it's Sunny, by the way. I found it. Sunny by Nicolas Cage and Retract.
Just
back
to ask,
zombies.
has Nicolas Cage starred in a zombie film? I'm just trying to think of it. Or is that just something that we need to happen, but has not yet happened?
Not as far as I'm aware, but I would love to see it.
Because, that 100% is something that we would appreciate.
I think the closest you're going to get is Mum and Dad.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I suppose.
So that's,
Good shout. Yeah, good shout.
Closest you're going to get.
Okay.
So zombie films that mean the most to us, or our favourite zombie films. Does anyone want to start us off with the one that kind of speaks to them? Yes, everyone jumping at once.
That'd be no.
That'd be no. I'll go. Because I'm just going to throw mine out there. I've talked about this film on the podcast before. I think it's absolutely stunning. I'm going to go with One Cut of the Dead.
Yes, good call.
Because it is just so wonderfully unexpected.
Pom.
Pom. If you don't know what Pom is, we can't be friends.
Hashtag Pom.
Hashtag Pom. But if you can seek it out, if you can find it, it is 100% worth a watch. It is a Japanese... It's online. It's on Prime. You don't even have to search it out. Get it.
It was on Shudder for a while, but I don't think it's on there anymore.
Yeah. If you've got Amazon Prime, then hop on. One Cut of the Dead. It's a Japanese zombie comedy, which for the first 35 minutes is intriguing, and then we thought it ended. And we were disappointed, but we were told to stick with it, and 100% stick with it. Everyone that I have seen it with, I've been to see it, I think 3 times at the cinema now, and people that I've taken have all had the same reaction, which is, for the first 35 minutes, why have you done this? And then for the kind of the hour that comes afterwards, just grinning from ear to ear, laughing out loud. It's wonderful. It's a film that, even if you are not a fan of world cinema, you can completely overlook kind of the subtitle barrier and just go for it, because it is universally funny.
So well done.
So well done. And I've said it last time, that I am disappointed that there is going to be an American remake, because
it's going to be a French remake.
And a French one.
I don't know if this is the same that we're talking about, but the remake I've read about is French.
Oh, okay. I'm still not happy.
No, me neither. But Chemapel zombie.
Yeah. Oui. Bon.
Wow.
There we go. That's that. But that's my pick. One Cut of the Dead. Seek it out. If it is on Prime, get on it. Watch it with some friends, because I do feel like it's definitely one to watch with a group of people. So if you can have your 5 other people in your house, this is definitely something to do.
I would say as well, my favourite thing about it was when we went to the cinema to watch it for a second time, and there were clearly a bunch of people there who were watching it for the first time. And so during the first 35 minutes, which is absolutely dire, we were wetting ourselves. Absolutely, because we knew what was coming. And everyone else is looking at us going, are these people all right? Because this is terrible. Like, every time I've recommended it to someone, I'm like, the first 35 minutes is going to be the worst zombie film you have ever seen. Now, I think about it, and I have seen worse. But if you stick with it, the payoff is so worth it. It is untrue. And every single person that I've shown it to has gone, yeah, all right, when they've gotten to the end of the film. And then they've gone out and they bought the DVD because they've loved it that much.
Although when I went to go and see it for the second time, people left after 30 minutes. and I was just kind of staring at them, like imploring them to turn around, but I just looked like the mental in the background going, "It's great," when at that point it really wasn't. But yeah, 100%. Please try and seek it out, because it is a very, very fresh take on the zombie genre. Anybody else with a zombie boy that they want to bring to the tabla?
I don't mind going next.
Yes.
So I am not actually talking about a film.
Oh,
Shocking.
controversial.
Here she is. So I wanted to mention one of my favourite video games of all time, and that is the Walking Dead game from Telltale. So it was released back in 2012, and around this time I was kind of not really into The Walking Dead as a series, although I did get through a good few series and then realised, actually, this has gone a bit shit. But the game I always look back on with fond memories, especially the first and second one. So to summarise, the first game is about a prisoner, soon-to-be prisoner called Lee, who escapes in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, finds a little girl whose parents are missing, and they basically go on a mission to find her and find them and find safety. Naturally, due to like Telltale games, I kind of thought this was fitting, because you kind of have to tell the story through the decisions you make, and the decisions you make affect the impact on narrative sometimes, but the end game is usually the same and inevitable. But the big thing for me is how you develop with the characters, the main characters, and also the side characters as well. I think just in general, like, my favourite thing about zombie films is kind of that social commentary and analysis of the human condition and how horrible we are, basically. So to see characters like Lee and Clementine, who were truly just sweethearts, generally good people. Yes, there's a darker side to some of these people, but they mean well and they are loyal and ferociously ready to survive. But it's a really good game series. It does unfortunately get worse as you progress through, but the whole trope of deciding, I think part of their marketing campaign through the latter games was #MyClementine, who becomes the main character in the later games, but she starts as such a feeble, scared little girl in the middle of an apocalypse, and you can either develop her to be an absolute badass who doesn't care about anyone, or incredibly loyal, just like Lee taught her to be, or just a complete wet gives into everything. So kind of having that control over her and the decisions that I guess you would make yourself if you were in this situation, it just makes it incredibly charming for me as a video game. So that's my pick.
I think it's interesting you mention a video game as your pick, because I think, especially during the 90s and maybe even to now, zombies are featured so heavily in games, haven't they? Like Resident Evil, House of the Dead, all that sort of jazz. So I don't know. I think that's a really nice shout. I've not played it, but I've heard good things about it.
I was going to say, has anybody else played it? It's the one game to, at the end of the first season, to very, very nearly make me cry. Like, it's that powerful.
I managed it. It nearly made my fiance cry, which doesn't happen.
That's crazy.
Very emotive.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the option I chose at the end, but I just remember Lee with the line, "You keep that hair short, Clementine," and I just felt myself just well up, and I was like,
"No."
Like, it was, oh god, it's awful. And I've only played a little bit of the second season. I've got literally all of them. I bought them on PS4 the other day to replay them. So
I've got good time coming. Minute, are they, Rich?
They were at the time. I don't remember. I think I paid maybe 15, 16 quid for the lot. I think maybe 25. But you get a lot of game for your money. But yeah, they are great. It's a bit of a weird style, if you've never played. It's almost point and click, almost.
A lot of quick time events and things like that.
But it's well worth a try if people haven't tried it.
Oh, amazing! I'll have to check it out.
So, would you say, Sarah, that it's beneficial to kind of have a knowledge of the series, or can you go straight in?
Not at all. So it doesn't relate to any of the TV series. It's kind of got its own narrative, its own set of characters. It hints to certain themes from the show. So I think they do a spin-off of a character called Michonne, who features quite heavily in the Walking Dead series. So she has got her own, I guess, mini series of the game, which unfortunately wasn't my favourite. But it was still enjoyable and interesting to see how they adapted her character for the video game, because they're all based on comics, aren't they? Down to it, which is nicely reflected in the actual style of the video game itself. It's got that nice calm, and even like the zombie effects and the sounds and everything like that, it's still gory enough to make you go, ooh, that's a bit grim. So it's not all cartoony fun and games. It is pretty brutal at times.
I'd say the graphic novels are definitely worth a look as well for anyone who's into that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
Sweet. So we've had two kind of different choices so far. One being a film, but not kind of your typical film, and another one being from a completely different medium altogether. We've had a game, which is fantastic. Liam, I'm going to leave Richard last on this one, because Richard is
master of zombies, isn't he?
He's
zombie king of the zombies.
The keeper of the zombies. So I've picked a choice, but I probably would say, just as honourable mentions, there's two TV series that I definitely recommend checking out. Dead Set, which is UK, basically Big Brother overrun by zombies, gave me nightmares as a kid. And also a BBC series called In the Flesh, which again offers a unique take on zombies, kind of what happens after people have come back from the dead, and how people deal with it, like socially. There's a lot of metaphors going on. It's really, really good. Partway through season 2 at the moment, so no spoilers. But I've gone back for a film. I was thinking, like, what would be a good film to pick? Mine's also a Zomcom, same as you, Jonno. And mine is the 1985 film, The Return of the Living Dead. So I don't know if you guys have seen it at all, but if you haven't, I would implore you to definitely check it out. It's directed by Dan O'Bannon, who also happens to be one of the writers on Alien. He's written on Total Recall and Life Force as well. So he's mainly more well known for writing than directing. It has several sequels. And what's fun about the series, because I think you kind of have to look at the series as a whole, is in the second film, they essentially bring the same cast back for the same things to happen, but they play different characters, which is just absolutely mint. The third film is a lot more serious. It's in the 90s. It's a lot more angsty and kind of what you'd expect for a 90s film. But the original, the OG, I think is absolutely amazing. It stars Tom Matthews as the character of Freddy. And his girlfriend in the film is called Tina, which is quite funny. It's very on the nose with the references. And it's also got Linnea Quigley, who's essentially like a Scream Queen legend. She's amazing. She plays the character of Trash. So it tells you a lot about these names. Essentially, Freddie works at a medical supply warehouse. It's called You Need a Medical Supply. And there was a mix-up of some orders with the military, and there's these vats, these barrels in the basement that have got these bodies in. And they're joking around, and they're like, well, these things will never break. They're made by the US government, and all hell ensues. Gas leaks everywhere. And essentially, what's unique, I think, about this film is it references Night of the Living Dead. It calls them zombies as well. And it says that Night of the Living Dead is actually based off of these barrels that are made by the government, but George A. Romero had to change certain elements of the story to not be sued. It's kind of like that. But what's kind of crazy about it is you've got the traditional, like, slow moving zombies. They're not necessarily like fast running ones, but they don't die if you hit them in the head or get rid of the brain. There's like one really grim sequence where this guy puts a pickaxe through this guy's head and he's still alive, and then they saw this guy's head off and he's still alive, and ultimately they end up cremating him, and then his particles go up into the air, and then there's a thunderstorm, and then everyone turns into zombies. So it's a really, really good film. There's a great scene as well, because they're in this warehouse and there's all these medical cadavers, and they have animal ones for veterinary schools. And there's all these like half sliced open dogs that like kind of come alive, and like it's absolutely crazy. I think, yeah, it's a great film to check out. It obviously predates the likes of Shaun of the Dead, which kind of cashed in on Dawn of the Dead being remade in 2004. This was very much obviously around the same sort of time, but in the 80s. And I don't know, watching it, I still thought that the prosthetics and all of that sort of jazz really held up. And I was still laughing. So it's obviously well made, I would say. Also, I guess the last thing I would say is the zombies talk, which I kind of felt like we were going to get with Army of the Dead, because they were kind of hinting at them being intelligent and evolving and that sort of thing. But zombies just fully talk in this film. And there's one bit which is actually hilarious. A zombie eats a paramedic. So he's just eating his brain and then dispatches on the radio, and it's like, what's going on there? And then the zombie radios to send more paramedics. And there's just this absolutely amazing sequence where all these police cars then pile up, and everything's fine. And then all these zombies just come out and just eat all of the police officers. So it's a great film. It's got an amazing soundtrack. I can't tell you how much more I love it, to be honest. It's just quintessential 80s zombie fun.
I can't believe you've not mentioned this one to us before, Liam.
To be fair, I only recently discovered it. I think I probably watched it about 2-3 years ago.
Right.
And this must have been the third time I've watched it, like last night before this podcast. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, why are we not on like a group call just watching this? Because it's absolutely hilarious. I know for a fact that we'd all be absolutely pissing ourselves.
Yeah, I've just done a quick search to remind me to watch that one later, because I haven't seen that one, and it sounds great.
Yeah, it is good. I would say the original is by far the best, and like always happens, they get worse as they go along. But there's some crazy like cool ideas with the zombies, and like they explain the reason that they have to eat brains is because essentially it hurts to be dead, because rigor mortis is a thing and their brains don't work and they need to eat brains to feel better. It's funny, and it kind of puts a bit of a spin on it as to why some of this lore that we're so used to is a thing.
So when you say that they can speak,
Mhm.
how do they speak? Are they?
There's like one section where essentially half of this zombie woman kind of gets into the facility that they're in, and they tie her down because they're in like a morgue. They tie her down like on the slab, and they just fully ask her questions, and she's speaking. And they're like, "Why do you eat brains?" And she's like, "Because it hurts. Like it's agony to be dead. I can feel myself rotting." So it's I don't know. It's something I'm kind of surprised more films haven't tapped into. I mean, like I kind of mentioned within The Flash, the series, I think they kind of touched upon it. Like there's practicalities of people being dead that I don't know, a lot of films kind of just brush under the rug. Like, when these zombies are running and all of this stuff, like things probably wouldn't work that way because they'd be seized up.
You just sort of assume, don't you, that because they're dead, that's it. That's not hurting. But actually, if you're running on a leg that's in half, that's going to smart a bit.
I think
for bones popping out.
That depends on what kind of zombies you're talking about, though. Surely, because if you're talking about like ones that are actually dead, then yes, that completely applies. But then if you look at the likes of 28 Days Later and stuff like that, where it is literally a virus that's taking over the body, kind of similar to like The Last of Us type stuff, where they're not actually dead, they've just been taken over, then they're going to be running. They're going to be able to do everything that a normal human can do.
I think that's what's so cool about the zombie genre is I don't know. There's certain elements that we all recognize, and like we said about kind of like the slow moving ones and the fast ones, and the sounds and all of that, and biting, get rid of the head. But they can all go about it and get there in different ways, and I think that's usually where the originality lies in the films, is how these zombie apocalypses have started. Because I can remember for ages I was terrified of monkeys because of 28 Days Later. I was like, just one bite and that is it. We're like on the edge of an apocalypse every time I go to a zoo. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think it depends on how the film establishes what zombies are in it.
So I didn't realise that. There's 5 of them apparently, Liam, in the series.
Yeah, I've like I said, I only got up to number 3. Number 2 is kind of like so bad it's good, and like I said, it brings back the principal cast to just essentially do the same but as different characters. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd need to see more.
They're much. Yeah, there's a big gap between number 3 and number 4 and 5.
Yeah, I feel like they're more straight to DVD and like using the name as opposed to actually being part of the series.
The latest one is called Return of the Living Dead: Rave to the Grave. So
Yes,
right.
I'm about that.
Well, talking about raving on graves, there is a full. I mean, it's a film that would never really get made. I think now the way it was, there is a full frontal nudity like striptease section on a gravestone.
Sold.
Like, it just does not give a shit about what it's doing. I mean, there's no reason for it to be there.
Perfect.
But I guess that kind of speaks of the time.
Yeah. Excess, I guess. Just go for it.
Yeah. It's very, very
Stone left unfilled.
Absolutely.
So, Richard, we finally come to you at the dead end of the podcast. Zombies. There you go, got one. Have you got one choice, or have you come with a horde of choices?
Hey.
No.
Oh, slip that one in there as well. Just thought I'd put that one in. Go on, Richard, put us out of our misery.
So it's something I've really thought about over the last couple of days, and I think only made my final decision about 12 seconds ago as to what I was going to go for. Because the entire time I've been thinking across all the different spectrum of stuff I've seen, the stuff we've mentioned on the podcast before, stuff like Shaun of the Dead, Anna and the Apocalypse, all of that kind of thing. I think I've actually mentioned in the past the one that I'm going to go with on this, but then I was also thinking about some of the really bad stuff that I've seen, stuff like Zombie Wars, where they are literally harvesting humans in cages, and every time they open and close the cage door, it makes the exact same sound effect. Like, that was dire, but I loved it anyway. Stuff like, I think it was a New Zealand one called Last of the Living, where, at the start, they're one of the characters says something to the other one about like, oh, do you want anything from the shop? I'm going out. And he responds. And then you see them, like, you think it's before the dead have started walking. And then you see him gear up and climb out the window to go to the shop. Like, it's already a thing. And I was like, that's fantastic from that point of view. But I think for me, as I say, I'm fairly certain we've mentioned it before, but Wreck has always been a big one for me. The Spanish film, and then the American remake Quarantine, which is absolute dog shit. Don't waste your time. Do not waste your time with Quarantine. It's terror. It's that bad that with Quarantine 2, instead of doing what they did with the Wreck 2, they just went off on their own tangent and set it in an airport. I have no idea what that was, but that was arguably worse than the first one. But Wreck, for me, the idea of flipping the entire thing on its head, how it started. We've had viruses, we've had literally the dead coming back to life and raising out of graves. But I think it was the first time I'd ever seen anything done where it came at it from a demonic angle.
Yeah.
And something about that really stuck with me. I don't know if it's just because that kind of stuff scares the absolute shit out of me. Like, I am terrified of demons and that kind of stuff. I'm not even sure believe they exist, but it still scares me. So something about that for me, it stuck with me. The performances are fantastic. It's absolutely brutal. I do remember a moment where a zombie gets its face literally stoved in with the camera that's recording the entire thing. Like that bit as well, just that's ingrained in my memory forever. It's just incredible. The first one and the second one, where they went for the SWAT team helmet cameras for a different view on it, but to be able to continue with that kind of found footage theme. We won't talk about 3 and 4, and there's probably 5 by now. Like I don't know. Like,
you want to miss number 3?
Yeah, I mean, the less said about John Sponge, the better.
Just as long as John Sponge.
Like, let's be honest. That was very odd. And then number 4, it's like they tried to go serious with it again, and it was infinitely better than number 3, but it still wasn't where it should have been.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
what worked so well for it was the fact that it felt so real. And like you said, with the first 2 films, there was a very valid reason as to why we were in the point of view that we were. So with the camera crew, the SWAT team. I mean, I did like the premise of the third one being the wedding video. Like, yeah, like that. Like, again, it felt legit, but it was just, I don't know. I think that's maybe where zomcoms don't work. When you have John Sponge come in.
I mean, it might have worked as if it was a standalone film and nothing to do with the franchise. Then maybe like we would have liked it more. But the fact it came off the back of those 2, which you say were really like visceral and gritty and in your face, like the bloke falling from the top of the stairs in the first one and just splatting on the ground. I'm like, oh, okay, that's the kind of film we're in. And then John Sponge. Like
the attic scene as well, not the attic, but like, where they go up to the top floor. Yeah. Like just the thought of it just makes me shudder. Like just the one light. It's so simplistic, but it's terrifying. And I mean, it's been replicated so much since, hasn't it? Like, I think that was kind of at the height of, because we had such a period of time, didn't we, where everything was a zombie film or everything was found footage. And I think like the likes of Walking Dead coming out really helped propel zombies into the mindset of a lot of people. But yeah, that was a successful one. Rec, I love that.
It was great. For anyone listening who's never heard of it, REC as in record, you'll be able to find it. Don't waste your time with Quarantine. It again might have been decent if Rec hadn't existed first.
Well, like Quarantine was pretty much just Rec, but in English, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which
and not done as well.
And I think you lose that sense of kind of otherness that you get from it being in somewhere that isn't recognizably home. So you've already got that level of unease, and then you're already looking maybe a little bit more at the screen than you normally would because you've got to translate the subtitles. And I think that really draws you in, and it gives it that sense of reality a little bit more. Like these things are being transcribed in front of you. You're watching something that potentially has actually happened. I think it's fantastic, but I will not hear a bad word said about John Sponge. So obviously he redeems the third film entirely.
Completely. Saves the franchise. Yeah.
He does. And if he doesn't get his own spin-off, what's gone wrong? And if anyone's, there to play him, it will be Nicolas Cage.
I mean, I was just going to go back. I was going to say he's probably the real life figure that we want played by Nicolas Cage.
I could get behind that.
There we go.
I'm okay with that.
And that brings us to the end of this month's episode of the superfreakmedia podcast, No Ghouls Allowed. Thank you very much for listening. But before we go, Sarah's got a little bit of something to say about a project that she's been working on.
Sure do. So you may have seen, if you are following us on social media, if not, why not? But the usual links will be in the description for you to go and follow us. But I look after a thing called Terror Tutorials on our socials, which is essentially me having a lot of fun with some fake blood and doing some creepy makeup. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, please join in the fun. There's one episode released every single month on our Instagram and TikTok channels. And this month we are doing a very special one to mark Midsummer. So do stay tuned for that.
Fantastic. And what day does that come out on, Sarah?
7th of every month.
Ooh,
I fail.
exciting stuff.
Pressure's on now.
That's it. So it's the 7th of every month, which is
Every month.
2 weeks away. Ooh. So again, thank you very much for listening to this month's episode. Starting next month, we will be adding a new segment to the podcast called Foreign Bodies, which is going to kind of highlight some films that hopefully people may not have seen. So we're going to be talking about films from world cinema. So it could be something from Asia, it could be something from Europe, it could be something from South America or anywhere else in the world. But hopefully we're going to be shedding light on some films that need and definitely... I can't think of the words, Liam. It's gone.
Deserve.
Should we go with deserve?
Deserve or warrant?
Don't like warrant as much. We'll have deserve. Definitely deserve a wider audience. So we're all going to come and have a think about films that might tickle your fancy. From
Rec 2 and
Rec 3, John Sponge.
Cough.
But so yeah, next month we'll be talking about John Sponge in Rec 3. So you can look forward to that. As always, please give our Instagram post a like and share it to enter the competition this month to win some Super Freak Media goodies. Richard, thank you very much for coming. Thank you for bringing your zombie knowledge. And thank you for seeing the films that we've been talking about this month.
Nearly all of them.
Nearly all of them. But seriously, thank you very much for coming on the show this month. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Liam.
You are most welcome. It's been an absolute treat, guys.
Oh, it's been lovely, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
So see you all next time. And remember, keep it creepy and see you on the other side. Was that you being a zombie? So good.
Man, I love that film.
Gradley, that.
Oh, it was
Reet Gradley.
I mean, apart from the part where I got very, very confused about who a character was and accidentally called one of the most charming characters a dickhead.
He was a dick.
He was a dick. Oh, I really liked him, Rich.
Yeah.
Wow.
The main problem I had was that like my connection kept dropping out, so I was dipping back in at random points and trying to work out what was going on.
Shit,
and
mate.
then, yeah, I got very confused.
Excuses, mate. Just
Very
use your DSLR, it'll be fine. Thanks,
Yeah.
Rich.
It's my internet connection, mate.
Dialogue.
Like, yeah.
That was funny when we were just like, yeah, Dieter, one of the nicest characters ever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dick.
I thought it was
Dick, mate.
Absolute dickhead.
Just like, what?
Yeah.
I did realise I didn't say Theo's thoughts. I don't know if you want me to record or say read what he said, or if you want to leave it out. I can't remember whether I told you before we started recording or if I said it during. And then
You did tell me. I'm
before.
not entirely sure how we could squeeze it in. It's going to be very
Yeah.
shoehorned.
it'll just be like, yeah, so Army of the Dead was great. Theo also added.
Well, there's going to be a nice little bit in there where you cut out the bit where I said bad things about Dieter.
No,
so you could just drop
no,
it
that's
in there.
going in. I
that's
don't cut
staying
anything
in.
out.
Staying in.
What you could do, you could.
To be fair, he kind of just said a lot of stuff that we'd said.
What
so
about if you
actually reading it?
Sorry, Theo. I'll just add this on at the end. You know, in the bit after the music. This is the bit that's going in.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
saying
What,
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry,
Sorry,
Theo.
Theo. Totally forgot to add your bit in, but here we go.